You are lying in the dark, and you are awake, not restless, not searching for anything to fix, just present with the quiet weight of questions that have no answers yet. The air moves slowly across your skin, cool at the edges where it touches the pillow, warm under the blanket's fold near your ribs. There is nothing sharp in this room, no glare, no sudden sound, only a soft, dark thickening around you like breath held too long and then let go. You are not behind. You are not missing anything. Not tonight. This is not a place to solve things or clear the mind of its noise. It's not where you must become calm by force or convince yourself that everything will be fine in the morning. There is no method here, only noticing, a slow return to what already lies beneath all effort. Your breath, your stillness, this body resting without needing to do anything. If you've come seeking philosophy to fall asleep to, if you've been searching for deep thoughts to sleep with, if you're hoping to find calm the mind before sleep through quiet reflection, or even just a moment of stoic calm at night, then you are here. Not because this is a solution, but because it is an invitation to let go, not by pushing away what lingers, but by holding it lightly enough that it doesn't need to be held. There is no professional here to assess your sleeplessness or offer treatment for how long you've been lying awake. Only this voice and the space between thoughts. If the stillness keeps slipping through your fingers, if nights like these grow heavy with repetition, there are people trained in listening who can help you carry what feels too much to hold alone. But tonight is not that time. Tonight is for letting go of even that need. The day has passed, or rather, it was lived, and now it's no longer happening. It is only thoughts about the day, a sentence left unfinished, an apology unspoken, a decision deferred, a silence between two people that meant something but never found words. These are not facts to be corrected. They are memories of feeling, shapes formed in your mind without needing to be true or complete. You notice how much of you is still turning them over, the same things repeated like footsteps on a worn floor. Not because they matter more than yesterday's thoughts, but because their weight hasn't been released yet. And that's okay. You don't have to release anything tonight, but you can let it rest. There is no reason why this moment must be different from any other, except that now you are aware of the turning. Now you see how much time is spent on what has already happened and cannot be changed. How many hours go into rehearsing conversations, imagining replies, wondering whether something was taken the wrong way, or if someone meant it differently than you heard. But here's a thing. None of these thoughts are happening in real time. They live only in your mind, which means they can be set down without consequence. You don't lose them by letting go. You simply stop carrying them into the dark with you. You might wonder if something important has been missed, or if there's a meaning hidden beneath what feels unresolved. But meanings aren't found in clinging to thoughts. They arise when you let them pass. The mind wants answers because it fears being left without direction. But even so, not all paths lead through resolution. Some lead through stillness. The self is not something you possess like an object. It does not hold its shape across time. You are not a fixed thing to be defended or preserved. You are a gathering of moments, some remembered, others forgotten before they were named. A weather moving through the body, changing with what touches it and leaving nothing behind. You notice how much you try to define yourself by what has happened today. Your words, your choices, your reactions. But none of that is permanent. The person who said something harsh in anger will not be angry tomorrow. The one who hesitated at a decision may act differently later, or simply forget the hesitation entirely. You are not behind because you haven't finished everything. You are not incomplete because certain thoughts remain unresolved. You are only what you are now, breathing, aware, lying in darkness with your mind turning over old ground like soil after rain. There is no obligation to solve anything tonight. Not even the questions themselves must be answered, only felt, noticed, and then released back into the quiet. A thought rises, perhaps about someone who hasn't replied, or a decision that still hangs in limbo, and you don't need to chase it down, not now. You can simply say, "This is happening, and I am allowing it to happen without needing to fix it." Let it be here as long as it wants, then fade. You are not responsible for all the things your mind brings up, not even the ones that feel urgent or important. The mind has its own rhythm, sometimes restless, sometimes still, sometimes gathering like storm clouds and other times dissolving into mist. And you don't need to control it. You only need to be present with what is. The body remembers more than the mind ever can. It holds warmth in places where thoughts have not yet reached. The weight of your arm across your chest, the slow rise and fall beneath your ribs, these are anchors that do not depend on meaning or memory. They simply are. You don't need to think about what you should do next. You already know how to rest. That knowledge is in your breath, in the way your body settles into its own shape when no one is watching. There's no performance involved, just a quiet surrendering of effort that happens naturally when there's nothing left to prove. There is something gentle about letting go, not because you've figured things out, but because you are tired of holding them. And yes, it feels strange at first, like stepping off a moving train and realizing you don't need to keep running anymore. You don't have to be someone specific tonight. You don't need to perform calmness or achieve peace. You are allowed to simply be, even if that means being uncertain, unfinished, unmade. The past is not real, it only lives in your memory. The future doesn't exist yet, it only lives in anticipation. And the present, it's just this breath, this weight on the pillow, this dark pressing gently against your eyelids. There is no need to know what tomorrow will bring. There is no reason why you must decide today whether something matters or not. You are allowed to wait, to be unsure, to let things remain open. You notice how much energy goes into trying to shape yourself into a version that feels safe, acceptable, complete. But none of that is necessary. Not now. Not ever. The self doesn't need fixing. It only needs space to move without being held too tightly. Even the questions themselves are already passing through you like clouds drifting over a valley. They do not belong to you. They are not yours to keep. They come and go just as all thoughts must. You are not responsible for every idea that enters your mind. You don't need to respond to them, argue with them, or defend yourself from their shape. You can simply let each one pass like a leaf floating down a stream without ever needing to land. There is nothing here you have to hold tonight, not the day, not the words left unsaid, not even your own sense of identity. It's all allowed to be light, unclaimed, moving through. The mind likes to think it must solve everything, but sometimes not knowing is enough. Sometimes just being aware that something is unresolved is already a kind of letting go. You don't have to fix the silence between people. You only need to allow yourself to feel it without needing to fill it. The dark doesn't ask for anything from you tonight. It does not demand answers or explanations, nor does it care if your thoughts are tidy or restless. It simply holds the space where things settle without needing to be named. You feel how deep that quiet is, not because there's nothing happening, but because everything happens in its own time and no one is rushing toward a finish line. The air around you has weight, soft, like something folded too many times and left undisturbed for years. It settles into the hollows of your shoulders, presses gently against your skin, as if remembering what it feels like to be held without purpose. There's an old kindness in stillness that doesn't need a reason to exist. You are not separate from this moment. Your awareness is just another kind of breath moving through silence. And when you notice how much effort goes into resisting the feeling of being unmoored, there it is. The quiet tug back toward grounding itself again, like water finding its level after disturbance. There's no shape to what happens next. The thoughts that come now are not demands or warnings. They're just passing weather moving across your inner sky. They do not need permission to appear and certainly don't require you to act on them. One drifts in, no louder than a feather brushing the surface of still water, and then another, like dust motes turning slowly inside an old room where no one has walked for months. You are learning how little it takes to be present. Not strength, nor clarity, just openness. A willingness to let what is rise without trying to shape its form. Not all that rises needs a name or explanation. Some things only need space so they can pass through and vanish on their own. There's something almost tender about the way your body lets go when you stop pushing against it. How muscles unclench not because of willpower, but simply from realizing there is no reason to keep holding tight anymore. The hands that were clenched into fists relax without ceremony. Fingers unfurl like roots releasing soil after rain. And stillness isn't the absence of motion. It's a kind of movement too slow for you to notice unless you pause long enough to feel it. How your chest rises and falls in time with something older than thought, deeper than memory. Not even breath itself is under control. It moves through you like wind moving through an open doorway. You don't need to guard against feeling uncertain because uncertainty isn't a flaw. It's just one of the ways life reveals its true nature. Always shifting, never fixed in any single form for long. Even your own sense of identity slips and reforms without warning. There are moments when you think this is who I am, only later realizing it wasn't really about being anything at all. Just a temporary gathering of attention around certain patterns, habits, ideas that felt real while they lasted, but were never meant to stay. You could walk through your entire life believing in the person you thought yourself to be, and still wake one morning and realize none of those pieces fit anymore. That's not failure. It's just how things are when something is allowed to unfold naturally, instead of being forced into a shape that no longer fits. No part of this, your thoughts, your fears, even your hopes, is meant to last forever. They come in waves, carry their own momentum, and then leave behind only traces. The faint imprint on skin after cold air passes by, or silence lingering where speech once was. There is peace not in certainty, but in release. The quiet joy of knowing you don't have to prove anything about yourself tonight. Even your sense of time slows down when there's nothing left to do. Hours stretch like fabric pulled taut and then softened again, long enough for thoughts that usually race forward to simply pause, look around, wonder where they came from, and decide not to move on just yet. You are allowed to dwell in the uncompleted moments, the ones between decisions, after something ends but before anything new begins. No one is watching you make sense of them. No rules say what must come next. There's a kind of grace when your mind stops searching for meaning and instead learns how to rest inside not knowing. How to lie awake without needing the stars above or any ritual below to tell you that this moment matters, because it already does simply by being here. The body remembers more than thought ever can. It holds memory in its tissues, not stories written down but sensations. Warmth on skin where someone once touched lightly. Pressure at your back when a blanket settled too gently over tired bones. You don't need to recall the event for that feeling to still be true. The truth lives not in words or dates, but in how your ribs remember what it felt like to feel safe enough to let go completely. And tonight you are allowed to return again and again, like water finding its way back through a cracked path, to those places where nothing is required of you except presence. No performance, no outcome. Just being here as long as the dark holds still for your breath. Even sorrow passes like fog across fields in early morning. It doesn't stay because it wants to. Only because light hasn't yet reached far enough to burn it away completely. And so does every question that rises uninvited, not urgent, just passing through, not meant to be answered but acknowledged, like a cloud drifting over hills you've never seen and will probably never visit again. You are learning how little of this belongs to you, not even your thoughts about yourself, or the way they sometimes ache with longing for something that might have been if only it had gone differently. But all those ifs live in their own world, no longer connected to now, no more real than dreams remembered when waking. You are not bound by them, because none of these stories ever truly happened. They were just made up while you sat awake and tried too hard to make sense out of the shapeless hours between sleep and wakefulness. There is safety in knowing that even your own mind does not have authority over what feels true. That sometimes The quietest thoughts carry more truth than all the ones shouting for attention. You don't need a reason to be here, nor do you owe anyone proof of how well you've weathered today's storms or failed them. The fact that you're still lying in bed with eyes closed is enough evidence that something inside has not given up completely. Let it go. This idea that everything must mean something or serve some purpose beyond itself. Let the questions float like smoke rising from a dying fire, and let their shapes blur until they dissolve into nothing more than air, unclaimed by any label or story. You are allowed to be unfinished, not because you're broken, but simply because becoming is not done in one moment. It happens over time across quiet nights when no one sees how much letting go costs. And tonight the cost isn't paid with effort. It's given freely. Because after hours of carrying, there comes a point where your body says, "Enough." Not loudly, but gently, like water pooling at the base of stone steps and waiting for dawn to decide whether it will evaporate or seep deeper into soil. You notice how easily you can let go when no one is watching, when nothing depends on being strong enough, smart enough, worthy enough, just present in your own skin as if that were a kind of victory all its own. Even the weight behind your eyes, the faint pressure from thoughts too close to surface and not far enough away, is allowed to soften without needing correction or adjustment. There's no need for resolution, no demand for clarity, just this breath, slowly moving through you like an old river finding new paths after floodwaters recede. And somewhere beneath all of it, beneath the ache that lingers in your shoulders from hours spent thinking too hard, you feel something else. Not peace exactly, but a kind of quiet surrendering into what is. Not resistance to darkness, nor craving for light, but simply accepting both as part of one continuous rhythm where nothing ends and no moment has more value than another. You are here now, not waiting or preparing, just being in the space between thoughts with your eyes closed and breath slow enough that even silence begins to feel full. You feel how stillness isn't empty, not really. It's full in a way that doesn't demand your attention. The dark holds things gently, like hands folded over a chest at rest. You don't have to name it or claim it. It simply is. The kind of quiet that gathers around the edges of thought when even the urge to think begins to slow. There's no need for movement here, no reason to reach toward something beyond what already lies beneath your skin and breath. The day was not a single event, but a series of small moments folded into one another, each carrying its own weight, each slipping through fingers without permission. And now you are lying in the space between them, where nothing must be carried forward or left behind. Not even memory has to stay. You can let it drift like ash from an old fire, turning not toward warmth but away from heat, no longer needing to prove anything. You notice how much of what you thought was essential, what you believed made you, is actually just residue, clinging to the edges of your awareness because you've been touching it too long. A name, a role, a way of speaking that once felt like armor, now only feels like something worn thin, something no longer tight enough to hold back what's coming. And so you let go not with force, but by noticing how little effort it takes when there is nothing left to push against. The weight doesn't vanish, it changes form. It becomes less about resistance and more about being carried, like water moving through a bed of stone, slow and patient, finding its own path without needing to hurry. The mind has been working hard all evening, making sense out of scattered pieces, trying to weave meaning from silence, constructing stories where none were meant to be. But tonight, no story is required. There's no audience in the dark who needs a performance or an explanation. You don't have to justify your presence here. Even grief, when it rises, not as thunder but as a low hum beneath the ribs, can pass without being named. It doesn't need a reason for staying, nor does it demand anything from you beyond acknowledgement. Yes, this is here. And then, after that quiet moment of recognition, it simply begins to fade again, like fog dissolving under slow sunlight. You are not responsible for the shape of your thoughts, only for how you meet them when they come. You don't have to pull them in or send them away. They arrive like birds at a window. Some pause, some fly through, and others just pass by without touching glass. There's no need to fix what isn't broken. There's no flaw in being unfinished. In fact, it may be the only honest state you've allowed yourself all week, the one where everything is still possible because nothing has been settled yet. You are not a finished thing. You're not meant to be. That would be unnatural, like expecting a river to stop flowing before reaching the sea. What's happening now isn't failure, it's process. And the only way through such processes is by letting them happen without interference. Even the silence between breaths has meaning, not because it says something, but because it doesn't have to say anything at all. It holds space not in defiance of emptiness, but by accepting it as part of itself. You notice how much more you can feel when there's nothing else to do. The soft weight of the blanket on your legs, the faint coolness where your shoulder touches the pillow, details that usually go unnoticed until attention slows enough to let them rise. There is no task tonight, no checklist, no way to measure success or failure by how many thoughts you've released or how long you've stayed awake. The only metric is presence, not effort, not achievement, but being here in your body as if it were a sanctuary rather than a burden. You don't need to earn rest. You don't have to wait until tomorrow to begin letting go. There's no rule that says the mind must be busy or alert just because you're lying down. The only requirement is stillness, and even that isn't demanded, only offered. Sometimes being awake feels like standing at the edge of a forest in early dusk, where shadows stretch long and colors blur into one another without definition. You don't need to see every tree clearly. You don't have to know what lies beyond the first row of trunks. All you must do is stand still enough that your shadow begins to merge with theirs. And so it goes, this quiet merging, not by choice but simply because there's nothing left to oppose. No energy for struggle, no urge to push back against what is. You are learning how little strength it takes to rest. There's a kind of power in surrendering, not the loud kind that shouts victory, but the subtle one that says, I don't have to win this moment. It doesn't mean you're defeated. It means you've stopped pretending that every breath must serve some purpose beyond itself. Even your thoughts about not being able to sleep can loosen when they realize no one is listening. There's no need to explain why the night feels heavy or why certain questions keep returning like visitors who never leave. They are welcome, but only as guests, allowed in for a moment, then gently asked to sit quietly until their time passes. There's something honest about being tired, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally, about knowing that you've reached your limit not because you're weak, but because you've been carrying more than was ever meant to be carried alone. You don't have to believe in anything tonight. You don't have to find answers or even ask the right questions. There's only this: lying still, breathing slowly, feeling how much lighter it feels when nothing is required of you. The air around you moves with a rhythm that doesn't need your attention, just as your blood flows through veins without needing you to think about it. You are not responsible for maintaining balance. The body knows how to keep going even when the mind has stopped trying. And in this knowing, there's freedom, not the kind that shouts or leaps forward, but the kind that settles deep into bone and breath like rain soaking into dry earth. You don't have to decide if you're enough. You don't need proof of worth because your existence is not a project to be completed or an experiment to be validated. It simply is, like the quiet between two notes in music, unmarked but essential. Even sorrow doesn't have to serve anything. It can stay for a while and then fade, not because you told it to leave, but because it has no reason to stay. Like mist that rises from earth after rain, it only lingers as long as there's moisture beneath the surface. There is no rule that says every feeling must be meaningful. Some things pass through not because they are important, but because they belong to a different time, a different version of you. They don't need your permission to disappear. And so you let go, not with drama or regret, but with quiet ease, like letting a leaf fall from a branch without catching it. You are becoming less of an idea and more of a presence, less defined by what you think about yourself, more shaped by the way your breath moves when no one else is watching. There's safety in that kind of anonymity, not because you're invisible, but because you don't have to perform. Even your own body becomes unfamiliar at times. The hands, the shoulders, the weight of limbs lying still, like a house where someone once lived and left behind only echoes. But those echoes aren't ghosts. They are just reminders. This place was occupied, and now it's empty enough for rest. There is no need to be certain about anything. You don't have to know if this will last or what tomorrow holds. There's no demand that you become someone else or fix who you were yesterday. All that matters is that you are here, lying down in the dark with eyes closed and breath slowing like waves receding from shore. And no one sees your effort, not even yourself, and so it becomes easier to stop trying. You notice how much less resistance there is when no one's watching. No need to prove strength or resilience or depth of feeling. You can simply be, without context, without explanation. You feel how stillness doesn't come from silence, but from letting things be unclaimed, like a word spoken into an empty room, not meant to echo back, just meant to exist in its own soft shape before dissolving into air. There's no one listening to the thoughts you're holding now. No audience for what you've been carrying. Not even yourself, really. Not as if you need to verify your weight or check whether it's valid. You are not required to be coherent tonight. You can drift through ideas without needing them to make sense. They don't have to connect. They don't have to lead anywhere. There's a kind of grace in that. Not the kind that fixes things, but the kind that lets them stay as they are. like dust motes floating in a sunbeam at dusk. No destination, no purpose, just moving slowly through a space that doesn't ask anything of them. You notice how many such moments there have been tonight, not on purpose, not trying to be peaceful, simply noticing that the mind can pause without being pulled toward action or explanation. The questions don't vanish when you stop searching for answers. They soften. They become less urgent, more like old photographs left in a drawer, slightly faded but still recognizable. Not gone, just no longer demanding to be seen. You're not forgetting them. You're simply allowing them to rest as things that were once important, and now are only memories of importance. You are learning the shape of being without purpose, how it feels when nothing needs to be done or said or changed. There's a warmth in that kind of absence, not emptiness but fullness without need. Like a cup left on a table after tea is gone, the ceramic still holds heat, even if there's no liquid inside anymore. Even the body begins to speak differently when it stops needing to prove itself. Not strong, not tired, just present, settling into its own weight like soil after rain, accepting that some things sink deeper than they rise. The breath doesn't need your attention to be steady. It flows on its own. Your pulse keeps time without you counting the beats. You don't have to make sure the heart is still beating. It just is. You are not in charge of any part of this. And that's exactly what makes it peaceful. Not because you've succeeded at something, but because you haven't failed. Not even close. There's no failure in being tired, no fault in needing rest. The mind doesn't need to be productive to deserve stillness. You let go not by forcing yourself to forget, but by noticing how forgetting isn't the point. Just letting things stay unclaimed is enough. Like a letter never sent, or a name spoken once and then lost again. It doesn't matter if it's remembered. The act of saying it was already its own kind of release. There's no reason to keep thinking about what happened earlier today. The unfinished sentences, the things left unsaid, the hesitation in tone that carried more weight than any word could hold. None of it needs your return. It can stay where it is, on a shelf, in a corner, quiet and unbothered by being forgotten. You are not responsible for what people think about you when they're gone. You don't have to guard the image you left behind. No one sees your expression as you turned away from the door, or how your hands trembled slightly when you said goodbye without meaning it. Those moments don't need to be rewritten or justified. You are not a story that needs to make sense. You're not a character in someone else's narrative who must behave consistently. There is no script for being human, only the quiet act of enduring, moment by moment, breath by breath, until sleep arrives like a guest who doesn't need an invitation but simply walks through. The past doesn't demand anything from you now. It can be sad or strange or confusing. It's allowed to be all those things. But it no longer needs your permission to stay unresolved. You don't have to fix the way something hurt. Just let it be felt without being owned by it. Even sorrow has a lightness when it stops needing validation. Not because it's gone, but because you're not holding on to it anymore. Like letting water run through fingers instead of trying to keep it in your palm. You are becoming less afraid of the dark, not because it has changed, but because you've stopped treating it as something dangerous or waiting for answers. It is simply space. It is not emptiness, but fullness without form. You don't need light to know that you're here. Your presence doesn't depend on being seen. You are not what you think about yourself. You're not your mistakes, nor the way you've been described by others. You're not even the sum of all the times you've wanted to be different. You're just this: a body lying still, a mind that has slowed down enough to feel its own rhythm, and breath moving like waves in deep water. There's no need to become anything new, no demand to grow or heal or improve. The self isn't something you must build, it's something you can stop trying to defend. There is safety not in being strong, but in being soft. In letting the edges blur without fear of vanishing entirely. You are not a thing that needs protection. You're not an idea that must be preserved. You're not even a memory that has to survive beyond tonight. Just a happening, brief and ordinary, that happens to be lying here now with eyes closed, breathing slowly in the dark. There is no test of worth attached to this moment, no scorecard, no one watching to see if you've done enough or tried hard enough. You don't need to earn your rest. It's already given. Not because you deserve it, but because it belongs to life itself. Even your thoughts aren't yours to control. They drift in like shadows across the floor. No name, no origin, just passing through. And when one lingers too long, you notice that it doesn't need a response. It can stay for a while and then fade, not because you dismissed it, but because it had nowhere left to go. You are not responsible for what your mind brings up tonight. You don't have to understand why certain images return. The shape of someone's face from years ago, the sound of a door closing in another room, the sudden memory of standing under a tree during rain. They come without asking, and they leave just as quietly. There is no need to be curious about them. No need to explore or analyze. Just let them drift like smoke, visible for a moment, then gone again into nothingness that isn't empty but full of quiet. Even the idea of self, the sense that you are one fixed person across time, is beginning to feel thinner, less real, not false exactly, but more fluid than it once seemed. You're not a statue carved in stone with all your parts already in place. You're more like water, shifting shape depending on what holds it, changing course when the path changes. There's comfort in that, not certainty, but peace. The knowledge that nothing you are gripping needs to stay fixed, that even your thoughts about yourself can be released without consequence. You don't have to decide who you are tonight. You just are, present, breathing, lying down. No need for identity, no demand for meaning. You're allowed to be a shape in the dark with no purpose other than being there. The mind doesn't need to find answers. It only needs to stop insisting on them. And when it stops doing that, it begins to feel lighter, like something has been lifted without anyone saying so. Not because anything was solved, but because nothing needed solving. Even your own thoughts about not needing to solve things can be let go now. Just another layer of effort that doesn't belong here. You are not trying anymore. There's no goal in this quiet. No finish line, no milestone to reach. You're simply allowing yourself to exist without pushing forward or pulling back. There is room for confusion, room for doubt, room for the kind of silence that isn't afraid of being silent. And when something passes through, whether it's sorrow, regret, longing, it doesn't have to be claimed. It can pass like a cloud across the moon, briefly blocking light but never meant to stay. You are lying here, breathing, not trying to be anywhere else. The air in the room moves slowly, softly, like something that has forgotten it needs to rush. Your body feels heavy in a way that isn't tired, just present, not resisting, not reaching, just resting where it is. There is no need to say anything back to the quiet. No reason to explain why you're awake or what's kept you turning through the dark. You don't have to give meaning to the silence. You don't have to fill it with words, not even your own thoughts. They come and go, like dust motes drifting in a sunbeam that never quite arrives. Even the idea of time, how long you've been here, how much longer this will last, is no longer something to hold on to. It doesn't matter when this ends. It's already ended for everything but your breath. And even that is not urgent, not important, just happening as it does. You don't have to be steady. You don't have to be still. There is room in the dark for trembling, for soft shifts in weight, for a shoulder lifting just slightly without needing a reason. The mind isn't